Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 2021 and episode 81 of Log Talk with Pertnear Outdoors. Thank you for joining us. It is a cool feeling here as our Buffalo Bills have wrapped up the 2020-2021 regular season and have a beautiful record of, 13-3, which is awesome. Their second seed in the AFC, and we've got a home game coming up next weekend. Don't know exactly against who yet. I'm sure by the time this posts that we will know who we're playing and we'll know when we're playing. But what I can tell you is that Danny Boy and I will be sitting in the stands for that game. So we're pretty fired up about that. I know there's a lot of hoops for us to jump throughout the next week. So we can be at that game, but we were very excited. We kind of took a flyer on the whole thing, keeping our money in our account with our season tickets this year, and really pumped up that paid off. This was what we were hoping would happen, that if we didn't bail on it, that we would have an opportunity at the end if we were good enough to be there. And it looks like we are. We are very good. So fired up for next weekend, and great way to start 2021. So this week on the show, it's going to be me doing a virtual discussion with Scott Murray, one of the guys from Hunters Creek Outdoors. Scott lives just over the hill from me, but just the way things are, it's a little easier just to do a Zoom call. So we're going to get together with Scott. We did not catch up with him at all or any of the guys. Well, we had Ryan on during the season, Ryan Van Loo, to get on and talk about his buck he shot. I believe it was with his bow. Jimbo had him on Breeding 'em Radio, but didn't get a chance to catch up with Scott or Jamie or Paul or the old man there. So I definitely just wanted to catch up with Scott and see how his season went and how the group season went overall, and maybe get into a few different topics with him. Not quite sure what we're going to talk about yet, but I'm looking forward to that discussion. And Jimbo's going to jump on for a few minutes to share a little bit about what he's doing this winter with the snowmobiling side of things, and what we're trying to do to kind of grow our community a little bit in that outdoor space. So Jimbo's going to jump on and talk a little bit about that. And I think that's what today's discussion will be about somewhat. It may veer off here or there, but that should be what the discussion's all about. I know we had our podcast last week. We laid out a bunch of goals. I've got a bunch of ideas for podcasts to do. Looking forward to trying to get life back to some sort of rhythm, not just for myself, but for everyone. The holidays was a real tough time to wrangle people together and get time. And I know for myself and all the guys that I am around, many of us have been dealing with no child care and trying to negotiate that around work and holidays and everything else. So really excited. Kids go back to daycare tomorrow, and hopefully that all goes well and we can kind of get back to a normal work rhythm, a normal family rhythm, and a normal Pertnear rhythm. So we had a pretty good thing going back during the summer and into the fall, and then hunting season hits, and we all know how that goes, and kind of was all just whatever you could do, you were just trying to get it done, and I'm happy that we did, and I'm proud of what we did, but definitely looking forward to getting back into a routine. And one of the things I don't talk too much about personally on here is my running that I do. That's something that I'm excited about this time of year. Come January 1, I transition quite a bit physically, and in my working out, my exercise, I transition over to running as I've gotten over the last 4 or 5 years into competitive trail running. Nothing like for prize. I'm not that good, but it's something to challenge myself with and something to train for. So last year was kind of a shit show, as we all know, and the race that the Muddy Sneaker, which is a race that our family, the Harvey family's got a lot of tradition with. It's been run 20 years, and our family has been present for all 20 years. My Uncle Tim and my Uncle Chris are the two that have been there all the way along, and it's become quite a family tradition. And I joined in with that I think 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, and just fell in love with it. And that's a new thing for me, and it's something to look forward to training wise and to set some goals for that. So that race is in think it's the third Saturday in April. So I usually get going on a 20-week running program here pretty quick. So I got to look at the calendar and count back the weeks to the day and get going on a running program. But hoping for a good winter where we don't have too much snotty weather. I don't mind running in the cold, but when you got rain or nasty snow and wind out here in Wyoming County, there's not a whole lot of areas that you're not out in the open running across roads that have no tree cover and running into the wind or against the wind or with the wind at your back, neither of which is too much fun because then when you turn around, you got to deal with it going the other way. So I'm much looking forward to getting out and running and getting on a training regiment there, and might see me posting a little bit on those sort of activities, which I can promise you right now, Jimbo and Danny will not be doing. So I'm the physical fitness individual. Danny is constantly choking the chicken, and Big Jim likes to get out and he likes to get out and ride the sled this time of year. So that's what's going on. That's what's happening with us. And I think I'll leave it right there. So everybody have a good week. Appreciate you listening. Do us a favor. Share this out. Tell a friend. Make sure you're subscribed to us on whatever platform you listen on. And just try to help us keep growing this thing. I hope 2021 is a great year for us and for everyone out there who's listening to this. So you know what to do. You know what I'm going to say. Just keep fading them. See ya, baby. The fuck I just say baby for? It was weird.
Hello.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
name.
Squirrel's got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, ooh, there's some deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
When you're
the
275
ghost,
pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
yeah.
You know,
He's like,
he's up there slapping it, pissing all over everything.
is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's I know.
Why did you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize. Remember this?
You know what Pertnear means.
If you know what Pertnear means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pertnear Outdoors. What's up, you hairball?
What's going on, Peckerhead?
Not much. Just looking at a guy that looks like he's let go of himself.
Looking like a guy that just did a mad dash when he got home to get everything in the garage and get on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. How's that back treating you?
Oh, it's on and off.
On and off. Good and bad.
Why you ask that?
I was just curious. I hadn't heard you complain about it in the last couple of weeks, so I was figuring it was probably better.
If I complained about it, you'd hear about it all the time.
Yeah, because you are a freaking whiner. We know that. Or a wiener. One of the other.
Try not to be,
Yeah. Well, you're a millennial liberal, so, you. Okay, just went
Okay.
So Scott hasn't gotten on yet. He's doing bedtime with his son right now. So I got fortunate. The kids were both neither one of them napped well at all today. So
Went right down.
There
you go.
Kate she's 100 wide open, and so is Billy. I'm getting payback from everything that I'm sure I did to mom and dad right now.
Maybe they got a little bit of your ADD-ness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They got some wonderful traits from their mother too, but we won't discuss those right now.
What's the difference? She don't listen to this shit.
Yeah, she doesn't, but it'll get back to her. Somebody will tell her, hey, did you hear what your husband said about you?
Yeah.
No, she's a wonderful lady. She lets me do a lot of things, and tells me all about the things I've done and what I shouldn't have done.
On a better note, how about them Bills today?
How
huh?
about them Bills? Holy
Mm.
crap. I just talked about that in the intro. They're a legitimately good football team. And I've never seen a Buffalo Bills team like this in my life.
That was a riot.
Yeah.
It's good to see Barkley get some reps.
Yeah.
If anything were to happen to Allen, it's nice to have your other guy that had a little playing time leading into it.
Yeah, he had a couple nice deep throws there to the Gabe Davis, and you got to be happy with the way that, I mean, a lot of our seconds manhandled the first of the Dolphins, and I'm pretty damn happy about that. So
yeah,
pretty excited for the game next week too. We're waiting to hear. Danny just texted me a few minutes ago and said he's hearing rumors that they might be playing Saturday night at the primetime game at 8:15.
Nice.
So
I was super confused because I thought if you were in, you didn't have to play a wild card.
Well, this year they changed it.
They added an extra team.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was wild card v wild card to get in.
It is not. And that is but it is what it is. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think like the Bills are home this week. They're home again. Were they home last week? No. Who did they even play last week? I can't even remember. It don't matter. But
it was the Monday night game against the Patriots.
Oh, yeah, that's right, in Foxborough. So they've had a game this week, have a game next week, or hopefully they'll win, and then they'll be back, playing another game at home. So yeah, it's pretty sweet the way it's all lining up. Should be good, man.
I agree.
Scotty just messaged me, said he's about ready to hop on here. So I'm just
football is one of them games where it can be anybody's day. So
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what your record is at this point in the year.
No, every team that's in is good.
Yeah.
I know. I think they're going to be playing the Colts. That's what it looks like. So we'll see. I don't know. I haven't really seen the Colts play much, so I'm not sure what to expect from them. Sounds like they're a pretty decent team. They got a good defense and pretty versatile offense. So we'll see.
Word. I got to tell you, I like the weather up in the North Country far more than I like the weather here.
Why? Is it just stable?
It's snowing. I mean, it's raining here.
Oh, is it snowing up there?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you want to kind of get into chatting a little bit about that? He's joining right now, but he can just kind of funnel in with us. But I wanted to get you on here to just kind of chat a little bit about what you've got going on this winter and what we're trying to do with Pertnear in regards to snowmobiling and that lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had an idea when I was out riding by myself the other day that it would be fun to slap some stickers up somewhere where there's a bunch of stickers and post a picture of it and see if I can get some people to tag us and share it, and we can share some of their stuff. And I've been doing hashtag Pertnear Trail Report, and it's kind of going to be a goofy year. I'm probably not going to be up there every weekend like I normally am, but if we get some other people involved and posting stuff and just kind of have some fun with it. And I know quite a few people that follow us ride, and I'd like to try to get some of the Tug Hill and Old Forge pages involved with get our stuff out there to them and see if we can get some people involved off of that, and just kind of have some fun with it.
Yeah. So your idea, I guess, for people that are listening that want to get involved in that would be, you slapped a couple stickers up on some signs, right? So if anybody, I think you just posted that in the story about if people see that, but we should probably put a post up on Instagram with directions for that.
I got to tag like the Tug Hill page in it and stuff when I do that. Cause I mean, I was looking at the Tug Hill pages the other day and there's like 30,000 followers. I mean, like,
Jesus,
it's ridiculous. So definitely got to get some of those pages shared onto there and have some people go try to find the stuff. And
it'd be fun. Be a fun way to interact with everybody. So you'll post that up. So everybody listening to this, keep an eye for the Facebook and Instagram posts on that. But then as far as the trail report thing goes, I think that's a cool idea. to engage with people. It doesn't have to be a like trail. I mean, you could just be posting a picture, putting something up in your story, and just hashtag Pertnear Trail Report.
If you're out having fun with the guys and drinking a beer on the side of the trail, or you just want to shoot a clip of a video and tag us in it, we'll share it. And like you said, there's enough places out there that are doing trail report stuff. And like I was reading through them the other day, and it was funny because it was like I almost left my sled at home with some of the shit I was seeing on there. Then you find out it was pictures from last year. It wasn't even pictures from this year. And it's just like people are so on and off and negative, and I think they try to keep people from coming because it gets overcrowded. And
yeah,
it was just funny. I mean, I went New Year's morning and saw 4 or 5 sleds. By the time I was getting ready to head back to the truck, I mean, there was nobody there. It was perfect.
Do you think there's some of that goes on where people sandbag what it is because they don't want the crowding? Because that's the only place where there's open trails right now, probably.
Yeah. I mean, old forages like inner trails are open and shit, but they're not great. And I'm sure that there's that shit going on. The people that go there and ride and have camps up there, I'm sure they sandbag shit on there just to get people to stay home.
I'm sure.
But yeah, so it doesn't really need to be like we're going to be the technical guys and give, all out trail reports all the time, just something interactive and have fun and post the shit you're doing and see where it goes.
Yeah.
If anybody's got any ideas, we're open ears.
We are open ears. And we definitely, I know, like I appreciate you, Jim, posting. It's kind of cool to start sharing some stuff from other people. You posting that stuff. I assume that was you with the stuff from Hunter.
Yeah.
And it's just some different stuff for people to see. I mean, we don't do it all. We don't really waterfowl hunt. But hi, Scott.
Hi.
How are you?
How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
You look like shit. Did you have a rough day?
You talking to me?
No, I was talking to Jimbo. Yeah, I'm talking to you. What do you think?
You hitting the hangover stage from the Bills game already?
No, I did nothing all day. I laid on the couch pretty much all day long. The hardest thing I did was shave my head today.
Yeah, it looks good. Did you do that? Did you do that for me, Scott? Did you?
Yeah, I did it for you just because I know that you were trying to copy me, so I wanted to make sure that I was a little shorter.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah. I might have to go back upstairs and shower again and shave. Be like my idol.
You don't use a razor right down to the skin. Not yet, anyway.
I don't have the plums to do it. Makes me nervous. Big Jim needs a freaking razor to his head. That's what he needs.
I was just looking at that. I thought maybe it was like part of his background or something.
Well, it's taken up most of my background. God damn it.
No, he's his name is Jebediah. He's turned Jewish over this last year.
I don't know why, but when I pass Amish people, they love waving at me.
Yeah. Like, hey, he must have escaped from our.
Some bitch escaped. Look at him driving that truck. We need one of those.
Yeah.
It almost looks like that turkey fan. Behind you.
Won't need that in the spring.
Yeah, you start letting Nick get too much bigger. You might want to wear some orange on that bitch.
That's good.
We were just chatting, Scotty, about what Big Jim's got going on with snowmobiling and stuff, and some of the things we're going to do with that for the season here. Try to engage some different people. Yeah.
Jim, you're a snowmobiler?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you even have any snow right now or no?
Yeah, up north has got snow.
Yeah.
It's minimal, but it's. I went Friday. It was good.
Yeah. I know. Last week, a couple guys I know went out, but they said the trails were just so sloppy, muddy, and
oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was last week Saturday. Yeah, so it was last week Saturday.
Who opened? Was that that Holland Way that opened, or was it?
Well, yeah, I know
down towards Chautauqua.
No, like out this way. I noticed the trail on 78. The guys were on it. So I imagine that's what they were doing, or around our area or whatever. They didn't really, it was a couple actually younger guys. We were cutting up deer, and they stopped, and were saying that the trails they were on them or whatever, and they said they're really, really sloppy. But I guess when you wait all year for it,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you go up north and you get up there in elevation, and like even my in-laws' house is up there pretty good, and they had like 4 or 5 inches of snow and it was slop underneath it. And you drive a half an hour north up into Tug Hill and everything's frozen solid minus a couple little runoffs that were crossing the trail that were wet still. But I mean, for the most part, everything's froze up and they're grooming it over, working with what they got. And it wasn't too bad. So,
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be bad, I guess, now if we can get to some really, really cold weather, freeze the ground good and solid, and then get some snow on top of it.
yeah, that's the key, is starting out with a frozen ground, because
Yeah.
if it's a mess underneath it, that's not going to help anything.
Nope.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like that's coming. Looks like we just got some nice average, highs in the low 30s, lows in the mid 20s coming the next.
See, the forecast up north this week is like 10 at night.
Wow.
Oh, really? Wow.
Mid to high 20s during the day. So they're going to freeze up pretty good this week. So if they can get some snow on top of that, I'm just snowing like a bitch when I left there today.
Huh.
Nice.
So
yeah.
I think they're only supposed to get 1 to 3, and then it's just supposed to be real cold all week. So hopefully they can catch a storm the end of the week or something to put on top of all that frozen shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope for the cold weather just to maybe get some ice fishing.
Yeah.
So.
Do you a bunch of you guys ice fish quite a bit, right?
Yeah, we go, if the ice is good and the fishing's decent, I think, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, we hit up Chautauqua Lake a ton, and the perch were halfway decent. They were, 9, 10, 11 inches. And ever since then, the ice hasn't been great. And the few times we have gone, we have not done well at all. We did go to Sodus Bay a few times and really did well there. But the last 2 years, we haven't really done a lot of it. But I feel like if we get any decent ice at all, even if the fishing sucks with the COVID, basically not doing much, we're going to go, just to get out and do something.
Can't tell you not to go outside and hang out.
I know. So, but yeah. We've, it's crazy. My brother lives right near Chautauqua Lake, and he sent us a picture of Thursday. I think it was Thursday. Was Thursday New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
Yes, Thursday was New Year's Eve. He sent a picture Thursday of 2 huts out off of the north side of the lake. He said he heard that there was 4 to 6 inches, but there are only 2 huts out there. And the next day, he sent a text saying that there's guys out there in a boat duck hunting.
Jesus, dude.
So what does that tell you? Crazy,
Either people know the lake really freaking well, or they're stupid.
Exactly. Like I don't go unless there's a number of huts out there,
Yeah. I think, did you see that post that Corey had there maybe a month ago or 3 weeks ago, Jimmy, is somebody that I assume it was Honeoye Lake. Somebody tried driving, I don't know if it was a 4-wheeler or a snowmobile out on the lake. And did you see that picture?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, just ignorant, just like wait a little while.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
But, well, we wanted to, Jimbo, you're more than welcome to hang with us for the conversation, but we didn't have the chance to really catch up with you, Scott, during deer season. It was just kind of crazy and hectic and never able to cross our paths up. So wanted to kind of catch up with you a little bit and see how your deer season went, and see if there's anything else you want to shoot the breeze about. So
yeah, that sounds good. Jimmy's gonna stay, or
yeah, I'll hang out. I ain't got nothing else to do. I'll drink Busch Lights and listen to how your deer season went.
Do you want to start us off with your food plots? Because you hunt quite a bit around your house, but you also have, your family's camp. Which anybody, just to give you guys a plug, if anybody is familiar with Exodus Trail Cam and the Whitetail Cribs, they did a bunch of cool episodes with you guys from Hunters Creek and had an episode down at your camp with your dad, and all you guys there, but your dad kind of highlighted talking about all the bucks down there that he shot. So if anybody hasn't seen that yet, I definitely encourage you guys to head over and check out those videos. It was cool to see the bucks you guys have shot and hear the stories behind them. So I guess start out whether you maybe, I don't know if you want to say something about that or what that experience was like doing that with them.
They were so super cool. and they did all the videos. They still have one more that's going to come out with Ryan and his dad. But they came out, met at my house at, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I mean, just so easygoing, laid back, just wanted to hear a story. I mean, and these are guys that are hunting, huge bucks, but every buck that you wanted to tell a story about, they genuinely listened and were excited about. And, they basically agreed, mature deer in New York, even though it might not be 160 inches, is still like a mature deer in another state, and they were really, really cool. And, basically they started at my house and went to Jamie's house.
Yeah. So they drove out. So it was, who was it again that came? I think it was
Chad Sylvester.
Yeah.
I think that's the last name. And his Cameron Deer. And Chad's part owner.
Yep.
And Cameron's, the one that puts all, the video together or whatever.
But they live in Ohio, right? Or
they live in Ohio, yeah.
I mean, they drove all the way out here to
Yeah.
your house. They started at your place, like you said, at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and then they left here. We kind of had a little bit of an itinerary that my brother put together, just like for time wise, just because we didn't want to be a pain to them and keep them, but they figured the whole day would be a whole day or whatever, and they didn't know if my brother sent them some pictures. I think I don't even know how they heard about us, or I don't know how it all came about, be honest with you, but somehow they saw a picture of that barn, years ago when we did a bunch of our mounts on my barn, and they were thinking maybe we'll do 2 or 3 of the guys' houses for one episode, because we didn't really know if we'd have enough deer, stories for them, but once they were at my house and they started, we went outside and I showed them the barn and a little bit of my food plot, and then we came in the house and they saw the mounts that I had, and they're like, oh, we could definitely do one, and obviously I do have some mounts in my house, but I don't have some of these guys you see on the show that have 40 mounts, all 130 to 190 inch bucks, but it's not. But they definitely, once they did mine, they're like, oh, we'll definitely have enough for a show. And I said, well, you're going to go to Jamie's. I go, you're going to have enough for a show at Jamie's, because Jamie has a bunch of mounts in his house too. So but yeah, it was a long day for them, that's for sure. And then we all ended up down at the cabin, and they finished down there. They went my house, Jamie's house, Ryan's dad's house. Met Ryan and his dad there. Went to my brother's house, and then went to the cabin, finished at the cabin, and then we had food and drank some beers with them, and then they didn't end up leaving until got to be close to 8 o'clock at night.
Jeez, yeah, that's a day.
So, yeah, and they were super, super nice guys, and I actually bought one of the cameras shortly after that whole thing, and had a little bit of contact with Cameron through the use of the camera, and the camera's been working well and stuff. So, but yeah, nice guys, just down to earth, regular guys.
So did you guys use any of their products leading up to that, or did they just find you guys and hook up with you?
Just found us, hooked up with us. And I told them when they got here, actually before they got here, I said, listen, every time I go on your website, your cameras are sold out. I'm interested in the one cell camera. I really don't want to spend, $300, but there's the other 2 that I would definitely buy 1 or 2 of them if they were available, just regular or regular trail camera. And so I thought maybe I could get them to maybe bring one so I could just buy it from them, but they didn't. But then when they got here, I had told them, how, I'm interested or whatever. And then shortly thereafter, they came available again. They told me the date that they would be available again. And then, just worked out where I got one. So
nice.
But yeah, so it's and like I said, they, I don't know what he said that they did for cameras, something like, I'm just throwing a number out there, 10, 15,000 cameras a year or whatever, where Stealth Cam, for example, will do like 800,000 or something.
Jesus.
Something crazy.
Insane.
Something, I don't know, those numbers could be off a little bit, but it was like a significant, like huge difference in numbers, like holy cow, because I mean, you look on. I mean, I watched a ton of stuff on YouTube, and they're always Exodus is always putting out stuff. And they're just big, and I feel like they're popular right now, and but it's crazy, the difference in number of cameras they put out compared to like a brand like Stealth or whatever.
Yeah. You think there's a difference in quality because of that?
I don't know. I guess, like I said, I've had it, and there was one little issue with it, but their customer service was so good that it would make me go back to one of their cameras where, like, for example, I bought a cheap Moultrie cell cam this year, and not that I'm here to bash on cams, but that camera has been a nightmare for me, and trying to get a hold of Moultrie is like, you try online, they send you a big like troubleshooting thing, and then if you can't do that, then they send you like a pre-made email saying how is your do your questions answered, and then you try to call them, and then they give you a number to call because of the high volume, and then when you call the high volume number, it kicks you back to the other number.
Yeah.
I mean, so for me, like, and then that little bit of an issue I had with a firmware update, but they were so good, and I said, they actually sent me a pack of batteries, lithium batteries, because I already had purchased batteries, and he said, I think it might be your batteries, and I'm like, well, I just purchased batteries, and probably maybe 3 weeks earlier or whatever. And he said, yeah, he goes, once in a while you get a bad batch of batteries. He goes, I'll go buy some today and put some new ones in there or whatever. He goes, nope. He goes, you already bought them. He goes, we're going to send it to you. We updated the firmware, blah, blah. And I mean, sure enough, it worked fine. And they bought me batteries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were super cool. Like, customer service with them was super cool. And I have a Spartan cell camera also. And I will say I've had really good luck with that, and their customer services was good when I first got the camera and was setting it up and having problems setting it up. That customer service was really good. But I will say also, the Moultrie camera cost me $115. The Exodus was $300. The Spartan was over $300.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think there's a direct correlation there. I mean, and a lot of times you're not even so much getting the components are the components, but it is the customer service on the back end. And, we experienced that this year. I will say on the low end, I have a few spy points, and I've been pretty damn pleased with the support there. I mean, I've had a couple issues with cameras, and you call them on the phone and tell them what's going on. And what our issues have been with the spy points has been firmware. And once you get the most recent firmware uploaded, it helps with the signal. It helps with with your battery life and stuff like that. So like that's, I got nothing bad to say about my spy point stuff I've been running. And, but with Cuddy back, it's the customer service side of it. We send them a message directly, and they respond super quick. And we had a couple cameras that actually, that we had bought that got moisture in them. Look at that. That's so funny.
I know. He gets to go right into the tree.
Yeah.
The big buck's about ready to tear apart, pulls out a beer.
You got a beer. You got a beer fridge inside that tree, Jim? Do you? Oh, nice.
My secret.
Yeah, that's how you get them dead. But we had a couple of the Cuddy backs that did get moisture in them in the lens, and we're having problems with them. And we sent them back. We haven't gotten them back yet, but they were very responsive and apologetic for the issue. And I think that is what you get with some of these maybe smaller companies. Like you had made the point to me, Scott, that they purposely don't want to sell as many cameras as a Stealth Cam, or Stealth Cam's owned by a big conglomerate, I think it's GSM. It's like they have hundreds of different products that GSM does. Stealth Cam's just one of them. So you deal with these companies where all they do is cameras. You're going to probably get a better experience on the after the sale portion of it. You may get similar performance day to day.
Yeah. Yeah, because I bet you a lot of those companies make the same components that are in the camera, or make the same cameras, just different names. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just slightly different, obviously. Yeah. But so that was they were really cool, and that was kind of a cool thing. And 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 then as far as hunting season goes, my season went, as well as it could go for me. I feel like Billy, I ran into an issue with all the property behind me, so it was a frustrating season. I was able to always hunt that and then not be able to hunt it, but I had that the one buck that I did kill, I killed with my bow on second day gun season, and I originally in the beginning of the year, I figured he's a 3.5-year-old 9-pointer with a split G2, and I had a bunch of pictures of him all end of summer and fall, and I was kind of going to pass him up just to see, maybe if he made it, but then as the season went on, and I had hit a buck at my cabin. I hit him a little high, and he was a really big buck. And but thankful, within a week's time, I've got a picture of Montreal camera, in a scrape, and it looked like he's going to make it. So that made me feel much better. But then I got that, I put so much time and effort in my food plots behind my house. Every possible piece of ground on my just under 18 acres that can be a food plot. I made a food plot in there, just try to suck as many deer as I could. And I remember telling you, Billy, that one night I actually went back there and hunted. I had almost 20 deer in my beans, and you're like, why don't we go kill some does? And I'm like, but I also,
I would never say something like that to you.
And listen, I wanted to go back there more and hunt, but I obviously you've heard me talk about Drago, and that's a buck that I've been hunting for a bunch of years. And I was trying to every possible, hunt was purposely just to see if I could get a crack at him. And I didn't get a ton of pictures of him during the season like I have in years past. But I heard from a guy not too long ago that knows someone that has property down the road, a couple miles down the road, and they got pictures of him this hunting season. So that told me, they kind of put a few extra pieces to the puzzle of where he's been going, probably. And he's only a 7-pointer this year. He was been a big 8-pointer for the last 3-4 years, and then this year he's a 7-pointer. He's definitely gotten smaller rack wise compared to what he was. And if I have his age right, he was 7.5. But anyway, try to shorten it down as much to add to the season's frustration. On Veterans Day, I was going to hunt with one of my buddies, and he was going to run the video camera because I'm sure you guys saw on the page, my buddy Abe, who shot that close to 170-inch buck. He's actually going to go this week and get it officially scored.
Nice.
But he was going to video for me. We were going to go to a piece of the property that he has permission to hunt on, and it's always been a pretty good piece. And I'm going back and forth. It was kind of raining. I'm like, maybe we should hunt here. And if we hunted here, I specifically set up a new stand and built a food plot with just Drago in mind. But then it just let up raining when he got to my house. Okay, let's go to that other piece. And we're not in the tree stand, 20 minutes, 7:30. And there I get my cell cam sends me a picture of Drago 25 yards underneath my tree stand. and then to add insult to injury, he goes where this main run that goes down into this bottom near my house, and he heads down in there, and then 15 minutes later, here he is on camera again, coming back out. And then I hunted, obviously that night I hunted there, and I could be crazy, but right at, last few minutes of legal shooting, I had a button buck come in behind me, or come out in front of me, and he walked right in the trail behind me. And just as he went in there, I heard a little bit sound like running, and it just drops down to the little ravine. And then I heard one loud grunt, just brrr. And that was the way that Drago went in, that he looked like he was going in for my cell cam, when I get the second picture sent to me. So I don't know if it was him. I don't know if it was another buck, but I was on the ready waiting, but he never showed. And that was it. And then I waited, and then gun season came, and it usually slows right down after the first day down at our camp. So I came back Saturday night, and Sunday morning I got a cell cam pic with the buck I shot, the split G2 buck, right behind the doe. And at first glance, I get the picture, and I didn't even see him. He's way in the background. And then I went back and looked at the pictures before I delete them. I always double check them before I delete them. And I look, and I go, oh crap! I go, look at that buck. I'm pretty sure it's a split G2 buck. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go hunt right over my beans, and if he comes out with does, because I know the does have been coming out in my field, and the property behind me is getting hunted, but the two main runs that come into my beans actually come from my neighbor's property that lets me hunt, and then down in the bottom where it's real thick and it's hard for the guys that are leasing the property behind me to actually get in there without blowing out deer. And they're coming on my property, like from that real thick stuff. So it'd be very hard for them, to get in there without blowing out the deer. And sure enough, I had a pile of does come on both sides of me. Wind was perfect right out of the north. And actually there was barely any wind, and the pile of does that came out, there 5 or 6 does that came out to the east of me. And then there were 5 or 6 does that came out to the west of me. And as they were both feeding, both were feeding to the south, 80 yards apart. And it's funny, when I get these plots and I get to watch them a lot all summer and all fall, how they respect each other and don't get in each other's space. And when they do, and when their young ones do, the mature does of each group will definitely run them out of there and, get them away. And then as I'm watching both these does, both groups of does, I looked back behind where that first group came from in the same run. I look and I see that split G2 buck. And I had, I was like, you know what? Okay, I got my bow. I go, if I can get him to come in, I'm gonna try, get a shot at him or whatever. And so he started following those does, and the ones that came out to the east, and he was probably 50, 60 yards. And then the does are probably, 80 yards from me, heading away from me. And I just grunted a couple times. Well, the one mature doe, like I think the head of the group that's to the other side of the field, she just kept staring from where my grunt came from. And he looked over and saw her. And then she started doing the old stiff leg walk away from me, like almost as if she was scared, like that there was a buck there. And then as he started like head up, looking at her, looking at the other does, not sure what to do. I just turned around in my tree and gave a grunt, one little grunt like that. And then I just did a super quiet just away from me. And that's all he could take. He just literally turned right around and just came walking straight in 25 yards. I shot.
Nice.
So it was super cool, like, how it all happened and worked out, and, and I was happy, obviously, that I killed him, and he would have been a really beautiful buck next year, though. But oh well.
But you had kind of said to me early on in the season, you're like, if I don't, there's nothing that's really blowing your hair back. Drago's, you had gotten a picture of him probably in October-ish, right? Like you knew he was around, but he wasn't that big. So you were kind of hoping to get a crack at him, but you kind of called your desire. If you had to, you would wanted to shoot something with your bow during gun season at home.
Yeah, no. And listen, I also was under, the influence of kind of how the whole season, how the whole year went so far leading up to this point. And I put so much effort into those food plots. And part of me was like, man, I want to reap some benefit from the food plots instead of just doing it for the guys that are hunting behind my property.
Yeah, right.
I mean? Because I don't know what they did or what they killed or whatever, but I think if it's who I think they are, they both killed 2 really nice bucks with the bow or the crossbow. I don't know what they hunt with or whatever.
Don't you?
But no, but in my mind, part of me was like, I love doing the food plots. I love spending time out there working on it and having success with them. But I also was, why should I? Because I'm sure if someone behind me got a crack at that deer, they were going to shoot it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. Deer make it every year. They do survive, but I was like, like as I said, just with a bow, if I was going to get him with a bow, I was going to try to get him with a bow. And that's what happened. So, and then I shot a doe in my beans. So like I had, anywhere from 10 to 20 does coming out my beans almost almost every night. And I was getting pictures of Drago. We started getting some cold weather, and he started showing up. I got just about a picture of him every night heading to my beans, but everything was dark, after dark. And so I waited to the last possible minute on the last day of muzzleloader season to shoot a doe. So
does that buck, does he, and I feel like I should know this from all the time you and I talk about this stuff, but does he hang around there during the winter, or does he seem to winter somewhere else?
Last year my plots weren't great. I had brassica because my beans didn't turn out so well, so I had brassicas back there, and he wasn't back there a ton. But now 2 years ago, when my beans were really good and well into the winter, he was there quite a bit, like all winter long, until my beans were gone.
Mm-hmm.
When I had permission to go beyond, my property or whatever, I spent the last bunch of years looking for his sheds, like nonstop. You know what I mean? It's like crazy. You can't even find a shed. But I remember telling you, I found that little tiny bird skull, the little crow skull. I mean, it's like you find these little things and you're like, how can you find these things? You can't find a shed. But I looked for his shed, and I'm friends with the Thorpes, where when I had Curly and I killed Curly, he found his shed on the other side of the farm on 78, almost near Woodchuck Road. So we looked all there. We looked on, we didn't look everywhere, obviously, but we looked. I mean, I looked for sheds everywhere. Never found his sheds. So where that guy found out where they were getting pictures of him this year, which it sounds like this is probably where he's going, when he's not here, or at least one of the places he's going, we're going to see about maybe going to look for sheds there. If we can, we ask the farmer, and see if the farmer will let us go look for sheds there.
If he made it through?
Yes, because I shot that doe on the last Tuesday of muzzleloader season, and the first picture on Wednesday at 6:15 at night was him in my beans eating.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So so if I have his age right, he'll be 8.5 next year if he makes it.
It's wild.
It's crazy. I mean, it's not only, how these deer have got to come in contact with people, have been shot at.
Oh yeah.
This and that. How many roads he's crossed. What I mean? Like, and to be able to watch a deer that long, and like I said, he just has that distinct characteristic the way his rack is, and then that brow tine that's crooked every year. Like, that's how I know it's him. There's no doubt it's him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got my number, and like I say, I swear, he watches me leave my house sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, there's that idiot again.
Well,
but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun trying to, put the piece together,
Yeah. And that's the wild thing, like trying to, we went through it with Frank and Beans up at camp. It's like that deer, once we started really posting stuff about him a couple of years ago, and then this year, especially when he got killed, the amount of people, it's not that many people, but we had several people reach out to us that had history with that deer in all types of distances away from our camp. I mean, there were people that had seen that deer and hunted that deer 3-4 miles away plus. And it's like, it's just insane how far they're going. And you think about it, like you get these trail cam pictures and you're like, oh, that deer's living right here. And it's like, no, he's not. It's like, this is where he is for 2 weeks breeding does. And then for whatever reason, he's going to go travel 5 miles away to go live the rest of the year. It's like, it's bizarre, really. But I got just a quick sidebar talking about like finding sheds. So last year, it had to be like the second week of January. I found this shed, and I mean, I don't think I've ever showed it to you, Scott, but it was a right side, and I mean, it was early. It was early January when I found this thing, and it had just come off. And this horn, I mean, this buck's got to be 5 years old. I mean, just the mass on it is it's crazy mass. So I spent a lot of time in there last year looking for the match to that. Never found it. This year, on opening day, my buddy Connor's hunting with me, and we're in this same area hunting, and he's just stumbling through the brush, hunting down the hill back to his car, and he finds a shed of this deer from the year before. And it's actually in better shape than the shed I found. The one I had already been chewed up a little bit by the squirrels, and the one that he had was like pearly white, like doesn't even look like it had really been eaten up. But it is so distinctly obvious it's the same deer, but it's a year younger. And I have not a single trail cam picture of this deer. I've had cameras there for 3 years now, never gotten pictures of him. But obviously he's wintering there, but he's never there during the rut. I mean, I've got 15, 20 different bucks that I've got on camera in that area. Maybe not that many. I got 10 plus bucks on camera, and that deer, I would know it if I had a picture of him. It's just kind of crazy. It's like, you try to figure these deer out, and you could get so obsessed with it. It's like, this isn't like hunting Iowa or some area where you've got acres and acres of corn and then one small block of woods. It's like these deer can go a long ways and never be seen.
I actually had a kid message me after Frank got shot. It was hunting the bordering property that had all sorts of history with Frank, and he saw him the morning that Ann shot him.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, couldn't get a shot on him. I guess he had a bunch of does around, and Frank kind of skirted the edge on him. And he said he heard the four-wheeler pull up at like 7:30, and he heard the shot at 9 as he was leaving the woods. And he was like, he goes, that's who shot it, wasn't it? And I'm like, yep. Mm-hmm. He was like, him and the other kid that I had already been talking to. He was like, we had all sorts of history with that deer back there, so he's definitely hanging back there for sure.
Well, and kind of your Frank and Beans is obviously a very distinct deer and a huge deer. You know what I mean? Like so people are gonna, if they see that deer, they're gonna know that deer. I mean, Drago maybe at his best, upper 130s 8-pointer, which is a big 8-pointer. You know what I mean? But I don't know if necessarily people, would not like I don't know if I would hear that he get killed. You know what I mean?
Right. He's just an average 8-pointer, a good one, but an average one.
Yeah, I would say slightly above average 8-pointer. You know what I mean? But just obviously knowing his age is more important than what his rack looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's crazy with I think so many people, and I get hung up doing this too at times, get so fixated on what their trail cameras show. And you can't always just rely on your trail cameras are showing you everything, No.
I mean, that's case in point is when you get snow on the ground and you go to check a trail camera and there's tracks right behind the tree.
Exactly. I mean, I just think that so many bucks probably don't get accounted for because they're just not, going on the, getting a picture taken of them. And, I was talking to my buddy. We took a walk and scouted a little area yesterday. And I said, personally, I think a lot of bucks check scrapes, because a lot of people, I put cameras on scrapes all the time. And I think a lot of people put cameras on scrapes, but I think a lot of bucks will check those scrapes without even, just staying 10, 15, 20, 30 yards downwind of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if your camera's not pointing that way with the way the wind's blowing, you're missing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that a lot of people don't, I mean, I like to think I know all the bucks are around, but I just think that you don't ever really truly know what's there.
Yeah. We've seen that up at Camp Jim, that the middle meadow. There's you've had that camera on that scrape for years, but the way that scrape is, but then how many times do you see you getting pictures of bucks that are on the downhill side of that scrape? And and if you look at, like, Scott, you haven't been up there yet, and someday I hope to get you up there. That the bottom of this meadow, it drops right, it's kind of on a bench, and then it drops right off below. So, and it's on the side hill. So you figure at night, and this is my theory, as we've started to learn more about this stuff, that those bucks they're just hanging below that food plot and mainly running that at night. And you've got the thermals coming down, so it's taking any of the scent downhill, and they don't have to expose themselves in the food plot. And all the rubs and everything are inside the woods, just off the food plot. And we still get tons of pictures of bucks hitting that camera, or hitting that scrape where the camera is. But all the time, Jimmy's getting pictures with deer that are just out of reach, or you can just see them going by. The sensor grabs them. You can't tell exactly what they are, but
what they are. Yeah.
I definitely had a handful of bucks this year that were you could see them in the shadows and you could see good horns, but they were just too far off to tell exactly what they were.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, I mean, obviously I just love it. And, you know, I already walked 2 different properties with buddies of mine, just trying to start putting pieces together for next year. And, you know, at camp, I had probably my best year ever seeing big bucks at camp, like for me personally within shooting range. And, you know, my dad missed a really nice buck with his bow. And
I thought he never misses.
yeah, I know.
That's what he said in the video.
That's what he said in the video. They never misses. You know, when I said that, when I was picking on him about that, he said, I know I should have said I never missed with my gun.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he missed a 10-pointer with his bow. My brother didn't really have a lot of good action with the bow this year. He didn't see a lot of bucks with the bow, but he obviously made up with it that first Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving. He shot that really nice 8-pointer. I mean, just a real heavy rat. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful buck. And then, you know, Ryan killed one of his nicest bucks he's ever killed in New York. You know.
His gun buck was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a beautiful buck. His dad shot a nice buck with a bow, and Ryan filmed it for him. You know, so that was pretty cool. And that was down at camp. Dougie shot that nice 8-pointer with his stick bow.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that was awesome.
You know, that was kind of cool. So, you know, he stuck to his gun and went hunting with that bow every time. And, you know, so that's something too that I've been interested in, but I just don't know if it would kill me if, just for example, I'm hunting with that stick bow and there's Drago at 30 yards. Cause you just gotta be, you cannot shoot, you know, I guess you could, but it just probably wouldn't be a wise decision to shoot more than, you know, Doug said, he goes, I probably wouldn't shoot more than 20 yards with that bow, you know?
Yeah.
So it just puts it that much better in, you know, or odds for the deer to make it, you know, unless you get him within, you know, 10, 15 yards. And he shot that deer. I think he shot it like 8 yards or something. So
that's awesome. Was he on the ground? He was on the ground, wasn't he? Or was he in a tree?
No, he was in a tree. And he actually shot, you know, he shot one with he shot a doe, you know, maybe a week or so earlier, you know, with it from a tree stand too. But it's true too. Like he came, you know, down the camp, you know, on one weekend, and I put him in a stand, and he was like, never really gave him much thought. He's like, but it's hard for me to shoot out of some stands
Too
with
high
that
or just like the stuff in the way.
Stuff in the way, like a ladder stand, even without like a shooting rail, but just like the way the ladder, you know, the side of the ladder stand comes up around your legs or whatever. You know, you got to make sure you're farther out, you know, from it, because you know that string and the bow is so long, you know. So, but you know, all in all, it was a good season. We got a lot of meat in the freezer, and yeah, I mean, I just, you know, that buck I missed at the cabin or hit at the cabin and lost it. That one hurts a little bit, but knowing he survived, and if we get, you know, down there, we don't necessarily always get pictures year to year for whatever reason. I know the winters get so tough down there sometimes, and there's so much snow up on, you know, we're like one of the highest points on Chautauqua Ridge, and the deer leave the hill. I mean, they go right down to the bottom. And I don't know if that has something to do with they come up and they don't come back to the same places, or they do, and we just don't recognize the same, you know, but
right.
Just, it's very hard for us to say year to year, like, yeah, I think that's the same deer, you know. We've had very few times that we've actually can say that, you know.
Yeah. It's almost the exact same way it is up north at my in-laws. I mean, you can pretty much guarantee that by the time you got 2 foot of snow, there's not a deer within 5 miles.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy how they do that? Like,
yeah.
But, you know, down at Camp Ryan, we had a 9-pointer a couple of years in a row that we pretty much, you could tell by the rack, you know, it's the same deer or whatever. But other than that, deer really, I think a big 6-pointer, I guess we had a big 6-pointer, you know, a couple of years in a row that you could tell because he was a 6-pointer, and, you know, but other than that, I mean, it's tough. We didn't really, from year to year, we don't really, you know, keep good tabs on saying it's exactly the same buck or whatever. But it's just it's different hunting down there too. There's so little agriculture up on the hill where we are compared to around home, you know. Yeah. So
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I know Jimbo and I in particular, we we're very similar to you. Like we have a lot of farmland to hunt, but we also love getting into the bigger woods, hilly terrain, and mixing it up. You know, it's really fun, and anybody can do that. Really, I mean, there's public land opportunities, or there's tons of farmers out there that you can go and knock on doors and ask for permission. And you know, getting in with does. I mean, I know you've been around this area a lot. You've been around this area your whole life, but you know, there's a lot of farmers out there that I'm sure would probably a good way to get in with somebody is just asking if you could shoot some does, even during the summer nuisance tags and stuff. I mean, there's some of these farms are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they don't have enough time to go out and do that sort of stuff. So
no, I know that. I mean, obviously I'm, good friends with the Thorpes, and they're such nice people, and they let me hunt. And I tell them all the time, like, unless it's, October 25th to November 10th or November 15th, and I'm hunting on a piece of their property, if I get an opportunity to doe and I got a tag, I'm shooting a doe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that even in between those dates, I'm not going to shoot a doe, but I'm also going to be very cautious in case there's a big buck nearby. You know what I mean? But
right.
they're very happy whenever I go on their property and shoot does, because the crop damage and I never realized it until now, seeing more and hearing more from them, firsthand of the damage that is done. It's unbelievable, how much they lose to deer.
Yeah,
they'd be thrilled to, just keep killing them. So, but I also found, I was telling you, Billy, that there's about 500 acres of public land near our cabin. That's a huge, steep, ravine going down in there. And I'm going to try, if we don't get too deep of snow, checking it out this winter or during spring turkey season. And I'm going to go and walk it and see what it all is about. Cause I don't know, I'll be up for the challenge just to give it a shot, see what's, see how much, human activities in there. From what I remember, it was so steep when we checked it out years ago, turkey hunting. We just called from the parking area and never heard a bird, but it was so steep that we didn't even decide, and thick that we didn't want to walk in it,
Yeah.
But that's kind of the vision I have in my head of what it was. So now that, I watch the hunting public guys, and obviously I talk to you all the time, and I don't know, this sounds like it'd be a fun challenge, and you never know.
It's just fun to have something else in your pocket where it's like, you know what, I've been beating my head against the wall here. Or there's nothing happening on the property that you focus on all the time, and to be able to just go somewhere and throw caution to the wind and just get aggressive and go try some stuff. I mean, that's by far what I've taken away from the last few years spending time on the public land I have. And I spent some time this weekend looking at maps, and I'm going to go scout some stuff this winter. That's just different, not too far from there, but just different property, and just see if I can figure something out there. Like I didn't shoot big mature bucks, but I went into a piece of property and shot 2 bucks and a doe this year. And I've shot does there basically every time I've gone, and shot those 2 bucks this year. And it's like, I haven't figured it out, because you'll never figure it out, but it's like, I want to go see if I can zone in on a different area and find some stuff that maybe it's similar or overlooked or tough to get to, so not many people are in there, type of deal. Yeah,
that's what I think too. I think not too many people in there a lot of times, because it's just not easy. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people just want convenience, or what's easy for them to get in, get out, and I think there's probably a lot of public land out there that probably doesn't see a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some people doing some pretty hardcore hunting around here. I mean, you get down around, like, just say like Hemlock Lake, for example. I mean, there's a lot of people that canoe in places, and it's like, you hear about this stuff, or you see it on TV, like the hunting public guys do a lot of water access. There's a lot of people doing that now. But like, there's people doing that here, and a lot of these people don't want to talk about it because they don't want other people doing it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And but it's cool as hell. I mean, there's opportunity right here in our backyard to do a lot of that. Most of our Finger Lakes have state land around them, and you can do adventurous stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
just to tickle it, just to, itch that feeling,
I mean, it's just fun too to just go see a bunch of shit you haven't seen before and read different sign and
Yeah, absolutely.
just be able to go for a day, just explore. I mean, every time I'm out there, even if it's spring turkey scouting, just hiking state land, it's like stuff is freaking beautiful, and it's for anybody to use. So
it's for anyone to use. Exactly. That's what's cool about it. It's super cool about it. And if you go in there and you screw up, you screw up. It's not like your own property. You know what I mean? Like you screw up on your own property and you think, oh man, I'm, that buck's never coming back or whatever,
Yeah.
But if you're on public land, you're like, okay.
And I was talking to Eric Reeder, one of the guys I've gotten to be good friends with. He's listened to the podcast. He'll get a chubby hearing me give him a shout out there. But I was talking to him the other day, and I've honestly found myself to be a better hunter when I'm going to these places because I am just being more aggressive. Where, like when I hunt here at the farm here in Sheldon, it's like we're trying to hunt there for 3 months straight, and we're all so careful and methodical about where we sit, what's the wind doing, everything we do. And it's like you're just tiptoeing around and you hope to God you have something come by you. But it's like you don't want to blow that bedding area out because it could change hunting there for the whole year and also affect it for the rest of the guys that are hunting your property, the neighboring property, and so on. So It's like you go to this public and it's like, hey, I know there's a lot of deer sign in there. I know the deer hang there. The wind is right today. I'm going right at it. And it's really fun when you can go in there and do that and find success. It's like, it's just a totally different experience from hunting that edge of that cornfield or that 40 acres behind your house,
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm hoping to really, like I said, scope out that one piece. And like I looked and there's a few other pieces, not even, maybe 10, 15 minutes away from our cabin that, 700 acres, 800 acres, it's like, might as well go give it a shot, especially spring turkey hunting, like, hunt in the morning and then, first hour or so in the morning, you strike out, drive 15 minutes and go walk state land and just see what it has to offer, see what kind of deer signs there.
Yeah.
Look for the real hard spots.
Yep.
So.
Well, I think we're running on about an hour, but I wanted to hit you quick, and you and I haven't talked about this yet, but you got any thoughts, or I guess you got any thoughts on the new deer plan? Have you spent any time looking at that, or you guys talked about it at all as a group, kind of what your thoughts are on some of the stuff they're putting out there, New York?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, one, they're going to let kids hunt at 12 now. I think that's one of the proposals.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's good, and I think the most important thing to me is the 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after. I hope that goes through, because I feel like we're one of the only states that don't allow that, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like so many big deer are moving during that time. You know what I mean?
It's the best hunting. I mean, everybody out there, I mean, there's a lot of deer shot 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of deer that get killed, and everybody's doing it illegally. So
that muzzleloader season sucked because there was snow on the ground, and you could see just freaking clear as day, half an hour either side of sunrise, sunset. And, I'm sitting tight and then walking out of the woods, almost at dark, half an hour after legal shooting light, just so I'm trying not to spook too much stuff. And there's still gunshots going off. So it's like there are people are doing it already anyways. So you might as well just make it legal.
Absolutely. People are doing it anyways. And I can't tell you how many times, I just sit, in the stand just to not blow deer out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you walk out and then, like you said, you're still deer moving like crazy, or you hear people shooting. And let's be honest, the people that are going to break the law or the rule or whatever, they're going to continue to do it, whether that rule is in effect or not. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
but I think that's a huge, just for New York. I mean, I just laughed like 2 years ago, not this last season, but the season before, the hunting public, when that Zach, whatever, I can't know his last name, whatever, but
Fehrenbaugh, yeah.
Fehrenbaugh, when he goes, oh, I just found out that New York, doesn't let you shoot 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after. He goes, that's way to go, New York, or whatever he said. I know, it's just funny, because it's just, I don't know how many states have that law, but I think that's one that should be changed. I think the Christmas hunt or whatever they're talking about might be
holiday hunt.
A lot of people I've heard mixed views on that, because a lot of people want the season to be over. Probably because their
wives
families,
in majority.
Yeah, are going crazy about it. But for me, I feel like what a great opportunity, still to, go. And I hunt hard in the afternoons toward the end of the season, but not a lot of mornings. And I think our whole group of our guys, we'll taper off a little bit, toward the end. But I think if we could go an extra couple days, I think we'd be happy with that,
I mean, that's where the pressure dies off and the weather gets cold and you can get deer on food pattern down, and you can go take some does. So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And if it was up to me, I would go back to the October 15th opener and then make the season go later in the year.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that, or just shortening. The only thing that I really had to say about that portion of it, in my opinion, that I wrote in was just maybe shortening of the gun season. Like, the gun season is so long, and I feel like if you go out there, the only people that are really hunting that last couple of weeks of gun are the diehards.
Yep.
The gunshots they wean off, whatever. They slow down dramatically. So there's pressure, but there's not as much pressure. And I don't think there's that many deer getting killed. Whereas if you gave the deer a break, they're shot going into the winter, give them a little bit of a break. A lot of states do that. And, they have shorter gun seasons. They have long bow seasons.
I think that's the thing to do, is to give them a break in between. Because during gun season, they freaking disappear. They know they're being hunted. They're getting pushed. They're getting shot at. You give them, that last week of gun when people kind of peter out, and then you go into muzzleloader and there's nobody in the woods and the deer are everywhere. So it's like, if you give them a week, 2 weeks to chill out and then have a late season, I'd be all for that.
Yeah, I agree too. I think I've been saying it for years. They would be great if they did, like, the same opening day every year would be the week of Thanksgiving or whatever, and just have it open for that first week, Saturday to the following Sunday, include things, and then maybe give the deer a week and a half off and then open it up again,
Yeah.
Or make it, I don't know. But there's so many deer out there though. It's just insane. Like, they want deer dead,
Yeah. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the problem, is that we have so many deer here and we're not putting a dent in the population. So, I think you get a lot of people complaining about not seeing as many deer this year. And it's not that the deer aren't there. It's that the deer are where you aren't. And you look at all these states that have bigger bucks, it's getting the population in check. And, you have the resources and the habitat for these bucks to get bigger and not have the pressure and everything else. So, I think that's what New York's trying to achieve, is a healthier deer population. And with that will come better bucks. And
pressure is just a huge thing. That one farm we hunt there, I missed the one doe and I gave it like 20 minutes and went over to check and make sure I didn't hit her. And the next field over, which is in the village, and you can't hunt, there's literally 30, 40 plus deer just piling out in the middle of the field, just herded up feeding. So it's like, they're there, but the amount of pressure that they experience, and they know where they can be safe, they just go somewhere else.
Exactly. They know, and they're not, it doesn't take long for them to figure it out.
Yeah.
What were there any other, I know the proposal was like 40 something pages. Was there anything else on there that you
70 something? It was long. Yeah.
Were there any other things on there that?
Well, you hit on the age, you hit on the time, we hit on the holiday hunt.
Oh, did you hear about the farmers? There's some kind of proposal they're gonna possibly. This is what I heard from a guy. I don't know if it was in there or not, but they were gonna maybe give farmers a tax break if they didn't post their land.
Yeah, like cooperative hunting incentives. Yeah, I didn't I didn't read cover to cover on that, and but I did see
I don't
that
know
in
if it
there.
was
They're
true or not.
yeah, they're trying to encourage farms to open up to hunters to allow them to come in and take deer. Because I mean, I know farms that we know personally, Jimmy and I, they know they need to get deer shot, but there's just never enough time. And
Yeah.
But
every
you
year,
also don't want just every freaking Hanya coming onto your property.
Well,
right.
that's the thing too. I mean, some of these farms that do let people hunt, they let so many guys hunt that, one, it either, the deer don't take long, obviously, figure out that
Right.
we got to get the hell out of here, or two, you got people, griping back and forth at each other about hunting,
Yeah.
So I think there could be some problems coming with doing that, but I guess I get it because, like you said, farmers want the deer dead, and I mean, why not maybe give the farmers incentives to let people maybe hunt on their land or whatever. I don't know.
Well, you get over in some of these areas and even around some of these more suburban areas. I'm sure that's where a lot of the stuff's aimed towards. But like you go over in I don't know what county, like Tompkins County, over towards like Ithaca and that, like they have a serious deer problem. Like they have that January deer hunt where I think it's like you can shoot 2 deer a day, I think is what it is.
Wow.
But like they have so many deer over there, and there's big farms up on top of the hills, and they're just looking for ways to try to get deer shot. So like they do these big hunts like this, which they're proposing to do some of that in September, and then again, in a late season, and just doing some of these special seasons in some of these places. But if you can't hunt all of these areas, then the deer do know that, and they'll just leave this little park and they'll go over here and you can't be touched. So like I would assume that that's what they're trying to get to on that. And I should do more reading. I just haven't had the time, but I know like New York Outdoor News has done a great job. They summarize. I kind of skimmed through a bit of it this morning while I was taking the Browns to the Super Bowl, but I didn't get through the whole thing. But there's some good stuff in there. And New York Outdoor News has done a great job of covering that. And I think the DEC's been good about at least being upfront about what they're trying to do there and getting the public's opinion. Because I don't remember the plan. I don't remember that stuff back in 2010. I wasn't really paying attention probably, but I didn't remember them putting out, a nice document like that and asking for people's opinions on it.
Yeah, no, I don't remember that either. Were there anything else in that, that stood out to you? Like any other changes that stood out to you, that possible changes?
Probably the one big hot button, and I've tried. Sean Thompson and I from Antler Ice are trying to connect, but he's been busy. I've been busy. I want to get him on here, and I still will try to get him on here to talk about. They're looking to potentially ban or restrict the use of urine-based attractants.
Yeah.
For CWD. So I mean, that's a hot topic nationwide. CWD is, but then the whole urine-based scent deal. So I wanted to get Sean on here, being an individual that's his livelihood. He owns a business and it's a local business. I thought it'd be cool to get him on here just to hear his perspective on it, because I'm sure that would affect them quite a bit business-wise if New York State outlawed that, because this is probably where the majority of their product gets sold, is in the New York and the Northeast.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would imagine so. I mean, because they're from here, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that whole thing that to me is just unbelievable. Like, I don't know, whatever. But then there's whole talks about trail cameras that at one time they were talking about trail cameras not being used, or not fair, whatever.
Not fair chase. Yeah.
My bank account would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that changes, and I had heard somebody make this point 2-3 years ago, talking, like you got these bow sights that are coming out that have, the Garmin bow sight that, has, it automatically ranges it for you, and, like where does it stop? Like where does the technology, where is it making it unfair? Like I think it's Boone and Crockett. They don't, if that deer, if they know that deer was harvested, you can't enter it if it was harvested because of the help of a trail camera. That's a cell phone camera, correct?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, there are organizations out there and different, there's some states that do outlaw cell phone cameras. And, I know that there's different states that have different rules about the use of mobile communication to notify someone that there's a deer, coming. Like I'm pretty sure New York State's the same way. I don't think you're supposed to text about it or be using two-way radios. And, it's hard. I mean, how do people communicate anymore? It's like, so times are changing, technology is changing. We're out there doing something that's been done for millions of years, and we have different tools in our pockets. So it definitely changes things up. But I don't know. I mean, what's your feeling on the whole scent thing, Scott? I mean, I know you use it. I've used it a little bit, but I end up just throwing it in my backpack and never touching it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I use it. I personally, during the season, I mean, actually one of the bucks I killed a few years ago, I definitely freshened up a mock scrape that I made, that Monday. I shot him on a Wednesday. That Monday before, I stuck the pine bough up there, threw some doe and some buck urine in it, and he came right to that scrape and I killed him. So I mean, to say it doesn't work, is BS to some extent. I'm saying it does work, but it also, I use mostly it early in the season just to get my mock scrapes going. And I know like you can watch, tons of different guys saying that, you don't even need scent if it's a scrape that they've already been using or whatever. But I just throw some on there and get it started. But I don't go through a ton of it during the season, and maybe once in a while I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna bring some with me and just put it out and try it or whatever. And but I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's ridiculous that they're thinking of getting rid of it. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. What is it hurting people using it? You know what I mean?
I feel like you'd have to come up with a really deep study to figure out if deer urine that we are putting on the ground is spreading CWD.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I mean, and I have no idea, but I mean, these places are a farm that is raising deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that farm, I'm sure they have to report if a deer has CWD, you know what I mean? Like
right.
They have to report it. So I guess, if there's studies that show that, these farms are reporting that they're having this, then okay, then maybe we have to think of a different way, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I want to get someone like Sean on here. And I also would like to get someone from the DEC, a biologist, somebody that's in the know about CWD and the concerns of that stuff locally here in New York State and their efforts of what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, they're going to regulate, they put regulations in to stop people from using scent. People are still going to use scent. I mean, that's what it comes back around to. Look at this. It's illegal to bait deer, and you go to any freaking store that sells sporting goods and they have bags of attractant and bags of deer corn. It's like, so what are we doing here? These stores sell it, but it's illegal.
Yeah.
It's just, it's silly, really. But I'm interested in hearing somebody that really knows what the hell they're talking about, talk about it. Yeah. And that's
if you get Sean on there, obviously he'll know the ins and outs, obviously, because that's his livelihood, like you said. And he'll, should be able to give you a pretty good insight on it.
Yeah. So. Your little laugh is kind of like a Rut Daniels laugh. You ever know that, Scott? Didn't go 20.
Didn't go 20.
It's got some nice loins on him. I have been on a trip with him lately. So the last one, and I think it's appropriate for the best question for you, is that I think one of the things that they're suggesting is crossbow use for the whole archery season, Scott. How do you feel about that?
Do you really want to get me going?
He'll be the first one using it, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, negative.
Old geriatric Scott, he'll be out there.
Actually, to be honest with you, I guess it's so funny with everything that's happened with my hunting this year. I just don't even care. Whatever.
It's not a mountain you're gonna die on, huh?
Yeah, no, I just don't even care. I mean, I don't even care. Like, do I think it's the same? No, I don't think it's the same. Like, anyone that says that it's the same as a regular vertical bow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's not the same. But I also, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And I have, if someone wants to kill one with the crossbow, go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? Like I have no. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I can honestly say from using one a little bit that it's definitely not as easy as I thought it was going to be. I mean, if you're tree stand hunting like you do with a vertical bow, there's a lot of situations where a vertical bow would be easier because this freaking thing's like clunking off the tree if you're trying to shoot behind you, and if you don't have a good rest. I mean, I think I can shoot further with my compound bow steadily than I can sitting in a tree stand holding offhand with a crossbow with how heavy they are and cumbersome they are, and carrying them through the woods ain't easy. It's just, I found the thing more cumbersome than anything else. I ended up selling the thing. I'm like, I don't care one way or another with a crossbow. I do like the compound bow no matter what. So for me, I don't give a shit. I tried one. I might buy one again someday, but for the little bit that I used it, unless you're sitting in a ground blind with a rest or a ladder stand with a rest or something, it's not much easier, I don't think.
Yeah, my thing is more the I think once it's kind of, in my opinion, it's like a gun. I'm not saying that it's not very similar to because a compound bow, like I can let my compound bow sit for 3 months, pick it up, and I'll put it on a target and it'll hit it. You know what I mean? But I also feel like you get to practice more with a bow than you do once a crossbow sight. It's kind of like your rifle or your shotgun. What do? You pull it out maybe a couple days before the season or a week or so before the season. Like most people, they shoot it. Oh, it's still on. I feel like crossbow, you got to scope with you know what I mean? Like that's, but I know some people do it with their compounds too, but I practice a lot with my compound, I think, compared to the average person. Yeah. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's a big difference. Like I might practice with my compound up to 60 or 70 yards, but I won't really shoot that. But I know a lot of guys that do have crossbows that will shoot up to 60 yards and not even think twice about it.
Right.
But I think what you're saying, Jimmy, is it's got to be an ideal situation too. Like, now you're not shooting over your back shoulder, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think I think that's the easier part of it in my mind. It's sighted in, boom, you could just reach out and touch one for a good distance out there. Now, Alan, I've never even shot one before. I've seen a few of my friends that have them or whatever, seen them shot. But I don't, and like I said, after everything that happened, I was like, whatever, I don't even care.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sitting on a bench with one sighting it in, it's nothing to shoot at 50 yards, but you get out in the woods with it and it's a different story.
Yeah. I'll tell you, if I, the damage and the speed of those things, I would imagine, a fairly close shot. You could blow that right through the front shoulder of a deer. Like
I did.
Part of me is like, why would you even shoot for behind the front shoulder? What, they shoot so hard and fast. I would just shoot for the front shoulder.
Yeah. I shot one at 20 and it freaking just pumped right through both shoulders, and she ran 40 and ass over tea kettle, but I almost fucked up that shot because I was in a bunch of limbs and that thing was hard to get through the limbs to get a shot on it. So it's just it's not as easy as you'd think, but I know what you're saying, where it's kind of an easy tool to just be like, well, it's on, grab it and go out and think you're going to shoot 60 yards.
Yeah.
So I can see that perception from it, but
and like, I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, I hope DEC's decision to that is not, and I'm pretty sure that it would be more statistical based and not emotional based, because you have the traditional archery, whether it be compound or physical traditional, they want to keep the archery seasons that way because the way they always have been without having crossbow in it. But at the end of the day, I think one of the big factors with crossbow is that it is a more effective weapon than a compound bow or a traditional bow. You could put it in the hand of anybody and sit down in a tree stand and you could shoot a deer that walks by. Not everyone can do that with a compound bow or a traditional bow. So that would be, I think, one of the biggest downfalls. And I'm sure that that's what they're looking at. If they have take numbers that they want to hit, they're not going to look at it and say, okay, when we have crossbow season open, this is how many deer get shot in crossbow season. Can we withstand, can we do that whole 6-week archery season? And what's our numbers going to look like if you have that many people out there hunting with that weapon? And if they can,
But-
that might be part of their factor of decision making there.
Yeah, I think that it is part of their. I think they thought that a lot more deer were going to die when they allowed crossbow to go during archery, and they're realizing like it's not even touching the number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if you allow it on October 1st, I bet you the numbers aren't. It's not going to make the numbers of deer numbers go down. There's no way. Like there just aren't enough people. Even if they go out crossbow hunting, there's just not enough people that go hunting. Basically, there's way more land posted. No one's moving anymore. No one leaves posted. Everyone sits. No one pushes deer. I mean, you'll hear my dad tell stories. When he was a kid and they started. I mean, you could just walk out behind the cabin, and you could walk 20 miles, and you could see 50 guys. You know what I mean? And they'd wave to you, and you just keep moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't have that anymore. So guess what? Guys aren't moving. Guys aren't pushing. Deer aren't going to die.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't shoot does.
And a lot of people don't shoot does.
And that's the end game of all this that the state's trying to do. They're trying to control population. And if you don't shoot does, you're never going to get the population in check. So
yeah, and I mean the majority of guys that use crossbows that I know, they're still not going to be trying to take stupid shots. I mean, when I carried one, I wasn't sitting there thinking I'm going to shoot 70 yards. I still wanted a good 30-yard and in shot. So, I hope most other people are like that, but I know the people that I know that use them, they're still looking for a good archery shot. They're not trying to extend it just because they're carrying a crossbow.
Well, and that's something too. I mean, I don't know, not that we want to keep talking, but I would be all for, guess what? You got to shoot a doe before you get a buck tag, or how about before you get your second buck tag, you got to shoot 2 does, so whatever, then that would, a lot of guys would be shooting does then, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There are a lot of different things.
Earn a buck deal. I think there's some states that do that. I don't know who it is, but I've heard that.
I mean, and there's probably way more research that would have to be involved, and who knows, that might turn people off, and then they won't even sell tags. You know what I mean? Then people won't even hunt then. I don't know. I mean, but
well, I mean, you look at how you can donate a deer now. I mean, if a guy's out hunting property and he shoots 1 buck, but he's got to shoot a doe to shoot a second buck. I mean, I bet you the majority of people slap a doe and take it over and donate it and go out and get their buck tag, which is, getting DEC their numbers. So why the hell not?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I would be all for that, and as much as I love to try to kill a big buck, I even said it. I go, it wouldn't hurt me. It wouldn't bother me if New York said something like that. Like, yeah, you can shoot your first buck, but if you're going to get another buck tag, you got to shoot a doe, or you got to shoot 2 does and then report them and then get your second buck tag,
I'd be all for that.
Yeah. But, but there are a lot of people that, I know people that shoot really nice bucks every year that don't even think about shooting a doe. Just don't have any interest in shooting a doe,
I couldn't even fathom.
Well, I know you 2 boys couldn't fathom that.
Yeah.
Killers.
We got contests to win.
Love feeding them.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well.
Okay. We're all turning into pumpkins here. Monday's coming hard tomorrow morning.
Right. I better see you at the gym tomorrow there.
I'll be there. It's Flex Monday, Scotty, right there.
What is that?
What was that?
That was a bug. That's a bug. That's a bug bite, is what that is.
Thought we were working a toothpick factory there.
See, all I need to do is bring up crossbows and look at you're wide awake. You're fired up. That's good stuff.
Oh no. Yeah, you were probably expecting to get way more of a rise.
I was.
No,
I was hoping so. I was ready to sit back and watch her fly.
I just don't even care.
Hashtag don't even care.
Don't even care.
All right. Well, it's nice catching up with you, Scotty. Congrats on a good season. And
yeah, you too, both you guys. I mean, you guys had an awesome season. Obviously, I saw you, Billy, and share, through texts and, phone calls. But Jimmy, great season too. I mean, great bucks, and you killed more deer than your brother. Did that happen?
No, we freaking tied.
Oh, you guys tied. Okay, I thought you had one more, but I'm not on social media, so I'm always hearing from like Ryan, like, or a picture that Billy will send, or hey, I killed another doe. I think he even stopped telling me, the deer that he's killed. He just, I must not be that important on his group of people to text.
Just keep shooting, Scott. You just keep
I tried
whacking
to
and
feed him, but
stacking.
I was just setting bullets free left and right. So it ended in a tie.
Nice.
If you love them, set them free, right, Jim?
That's what Trigger told me one time.
Mm-hmm. Kiss them, keister them, kiss them, and send them. That's what you do.
There you go.
All right.
All
See you in the
right.
morning, Scotty.
See you guys.
Big
See ya,
Jim.
Scott.
See ya.
Adios.
Go Bills.
Feed 'em.